It's Behind the Blind Podcast.
All right, and we're back. Thank you for tuning in here on YouTube, Spotify, and many of the other podcast platforms. I'm Ronnie Phillips. This Behind the Blind podcast episode brought to you by Double T British Kennels. For more than 20 years, Double T British Kennels have imported dogs directly from Great Britain to build superior bloodlines. Their top-of-the-line dogs are proven in the field in major field trials. Find out more by joining or checking out britlabs.com, and be sure to tell them Heartland Waterfowl sent you. Hey, I'd also like to encourage you to check out our website at heartlandwaterfowl.com. We're trying to build our audience. We're trying to build our database, and there's a chance for you to win by helping us with that. By going to heartlandwaterfowl.com, at the top of the page there, you'll see subscribe. We'd love to get your information. It will get you entered to win a Heartland Waterfowl swag pack, which I'm wearing one of the shirts right here. We've got all kinds of hats, shirts, hoodies, and much more to come in the near future. So check it out at heartlandwaterfowl.com. It's my honor to bring on to the podcast today from Carlson's Choke Tubes. His name, and I'm trying to get here the technology right here. His name is Nolan May. Buddy, how are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Well, can I be honest with you here? Make this about me before we make this about you. I am fine. I'm good. I'm blessed, but I am a little butthurt.
Okay.
I actually may have told you why.
Oh,
Did you hear about what happened to us?
Well, I want to hear more because I'm heading up there soon too.
So we, and this information that I'm about to share, only you can get on the Behind the Blind podcast. So it's my understanding you're getting ready to go to Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going up there for?
Archery bear hunt.
Oh, nice. Actually, the Heartland Bowhunter guys are up there right now doing that.
Oh, nice.
Somehow they could find their way into Canada, but Heartland Waterfowl couldn't. We got denied at the border. Yeah. So we've been going to Canada, Saskatchewan, that province for, we started filming in there the year before we had a TV show. So 13 years. And then the last 5 times, give or take a couple of those years, because COVID, we didn't get to go for a couple years because of COVID. The last 5 times, we've gone twice a year because we've been filming in the spring and then later in the fall. And in those last roughly 5 times that we've gone to Saskatchewan, we've been there on a partnership with Saskatchewan Tourism. So basically they're like a pseudo partner of ours. We provide assets for them. We tag them in social media with some of the content that we put out there that promotes Saskatchewan, promotes their tourism bureau. And they always give us a letter of compliance that we give the border agents when we get to the border. And in the past, that has always been a fast track into Canada, because sometimes if you're an American with guns and ammo and who knows whatever else, and you get to the border, they want to stop you and they want to go through your things, which is fine. And we understand all of that, but we try to, if we can, not have to do that. And if the letter will give them a peace of mind that they don't need to do that, we give them the letter. And that's always been a fast track. So we, again, reach out to Saskatchewan Tourism and we get a letter. And when we get to the border at about midnight, we give them, first of all, let me just back up and say that the border agents have never been warm and fuzzy. That's not like, hey, welcome to Canada. It's not like you're showing up at a 5-star resort and they're sitting there with a cocktail waiting for you to enter the country. They've never been warm and fuzzy, but I've never seen them this cold to where you're rolled up to the window and it's like middle finger. They didn't give us the middle finger, but it's just the feeling, the sense of like, F you, we want nothing to do with you. Pull your trucks ahead, go inside. Normally they would say, hey, are all of you guys together? We say, yeah. They say, all right, come on up, give us your passports, then we'll run the information. You'll pay for your gun declaration and you'll be on your way. Not this time. This time we got there and it was like one at a time. So Logan goes up, gives his ID or gives his passport and the letter of compliance from Saskatchewan Tourism. And she's like, well, what is this? What do I need this for? How do I know that you didn't make this? We're like, whoa, if you check the records, we've been coming twice a year. In the last 5, 6, 7 times we've been doing this in partnership. In fact, the agent who's sitting right there 20 feet away with his arms crossed looking right at us let us in the fall. And he just sat there and looked at us like, screw you guys. You're on your own. I'm not helping you. And she's like, well, so you guys are getting paid to be up here? And we're like, yeah, yes. Well, you don't have a work visa. What? Yeah, you need to have an employer compliance number, otherwise known as an A number. Let me check with the immigration officer lead or her manager. And I'll check with, and we'll get back to you. We're like, okay, this has got to be a fluke. We've been doing this for so long. This is the same process. We've always been doing this. This has never been an issue before. Well, she turned us away. And not only did she turn us away, she made it very clear that she's going to put into the system why she denied us at the border, so that when we come back, so we get back to the U.S., we flip around, basically make a U-turn. The U.S. border agent is like, hey, welcome back. These overnight border agents, they are, how should I put it? Well, screw it. They get off on turning Americans away. Is the way he said it.
Wow.
And so what we did was drive all the way back to Grand Forks, which is an hour and 15 minutes, got a hotel room, finally got to bed about 3 a.m., got up as early as we could to notify Saskatchewan Tourism of this issue, thinking that maybe they could help navigate or fast track us through this process. The guy who we've been dealing with has worked for this bureau for 20 years, and he's never heard of this before. And we're not the only producer he works with in doing these partnerships. Right. So he's like, let me check into it. I'll get back to you in about an hour. He basically tells us to go back to the border, small town outside of the border, to go eat lunch, and he should have it all figured out in about an hour. So we drive the hour and 15 minutes back up there, go eat lunch. It's a long story, Nolan. I'm sorry.
No, this is great.
and we then go to our trucks thinking we're going to get a message at any time. We end up sitting in the parking lot for hours until about 5:15, where we get a text message and he says, I haven't got this figured out yet. I've run this through the vice president of our business. I've run this through the CEO. I've even given this information to an immigration lawyer, a Canadian immigration lawyer. We won't have this done until at best noon tomorrow. I say, go back to Grand Forks, another hour and 15 minutes back, spend the night, go eat dinner, hope to have something for you by noon. So as we go back, get checked in, go to dinner, as we're eating dinner, we get the message from them. It says, in my 20 years of working with this for Saskatchewan Tourism, I've never had this problem before. We're not going to be able to turn this around in a timely manner. The tourism department could not get their partner a employer compliance number, otherwise known as an A number. So we hung out with a friend, our buddy Cody and Mike, over the weekend, caught some big 27, 28, 29-inch walleye. And then it came home on Sunday, Mother's Day, and got back in time to spend time with the wives. And so, yeah, great start. Start to, or actually a great end, terrible end to our season 12 of production. But if you're not going up there to get paid, you should be fine. Heartland Bowhunter was able to. They don't have any kind of partnership with Saskatchewan Tourism. They didn't have any kind of compliance law. But again, the weird part about that is that it had always been a fast track for us into the country. And for this time, it was a hindrance. And let me also just say, because I don't want to throw shade at Saskatchewan Tourism, those guys are absolutely incredible. They love us. We love them. It's not their fault that, and of course, everybody knows the U.S. border agent said it. The people at Saskatchewan Tourism said it. This has 1,000% everything to do with the political climate. It had nothing to do with us. So it is what it is. But yeah, make sure that you do everything by the book when you get to the border, because I've known several people that have spent 3 hours at the border having their entire truck and trailer searched through. So make sure that there's a certain amount of alcohol or tobacco or all the things that you can have to cross the border. Make sure you're doing everything by the book, because there's a pretty good chance they'll check you, especially if you're bringing a weapon across the border. So anyway, I'm excited for you to go to Canada and shoot a bear.
Me too. Well, at least attempt to, but no, when you text me that the other day, I was like, oh man, what's going on? Because, got deposits and stuff already done. And I assumed as much that it was mostly political speculation on my part, but that's frustrating to hear.
Yeah. Have you heard any stories of anybody getting stopped at the border?
You have all the luck. It's just you.
So nobody has had any issues.
Not recently, but I also haven't had anybody try to go up there in the last couple months that I know of.
Well, and again, it's not that the people that we know haven't been denied. It's just that the process was a lot more tedious and it wasn't as friendly. You get there and there's a million questions as before. There was questions, but maybe not as many. And there was, hey, you're coming here to hunt. You're bringing money to our country and our economy. Thanks for coming. Go do your thing. Now it's like, we're going to fine comb this entire process and make sure that these people are legit.
When I think of terrorists, that you come to mind, like how you look, the way you dress, the way you talk. I'm like, that is a suspicious guy.
Yeah. Well, and actually Logan was the first one to counter. So he had to have been the suspicious. So I'm going to blame it all on him.
Fair enough.
Well, cool. Have you been bear hunting before up there?
No, not in Canada. I've been on some public land stuff in Colorado and shot a small bear, but this opportunity came up. Somebody said, hey, we're going. I was like, all right, let's do it.
So is this a public land thing or an outfitter?
Outfitter thing.
Nice. Yeah. Have you seen so you live in Western Kansas now. We'll get to all this here in a second, but have you been seeing the reports out of the Kansas City TV stations?
Yes. The bear by Taco Bell. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah. A black bear in Grandview. Now here's the thing about a year ago, and I'm in Greenwood, Missouri, which isn't far from Pleasant Hill. And I have an old neighbor who lived right next door who lives out there now. And she, God bless her, she doesn't understand wildlife that much. And she made a comment one day that she swore she saw a bear in her backyard. They live on like 5 acres, 10 acres, something like that. And we're like, okay, whatever. You saw a big dog or whatever, like you didn't see a bear. And then 2 weeks, a month later, there was a report or a sighting, a trail camera of a black bear outside of Pleasant Hill, Missouri. And now here a year later, who knows, could be the same bear, just got a big traveling diameter, but now it's in Grandview by Taco Bell.
That's awesome.
So crazy. I don't know. It's hard to think that they would migrate here to a metropolitan area.
Right. I mean, isn't there, a growing population of them down south in like the Ozarks?
That is true. I did forget about that. So I guess there would be the possibility of it migrating from down there, but you wouldn't think they would be coming to a like Kansas City. You would think it would be as small anyway.
That's awesome.
We'll see, but maybe they'll open up a bear season here in the Kansas City metro. How's business been, man? You've been with Carlson's now as the owner for just over 3 years. What's business been like? Because you kind of came in at a really strange time. We've been talking about the political climate. You had all of the recession and the things that were going on from COVID and the Biden administration. And now you got the Trump administration and all the tariffs. What's it been like the last 3 years owning a business in the outdoor space?
No, it's been great. We've been blessed. We've got a really good team, and coming back to Western Kansas, this is my home, was a big part of it for me. But actually, we were talking about last night, my wife and I, about how it's always strange times. Like you and I are about the same age. Just like how many once in a lifetime experiences are we going to have?
Yeah.
And but like you said, coming off of the COVID high in the outdoor industry, as far as supply chains being you can't have enough to sell, and then they kind of slowed down. But luckily, choke tubes in general are insulated from the big highs and the big lows. We're not as controversial, as what people think is in the gun industry, which is frustrating. Sure. And I came from the world of suppressors, machine guns, that kind of thing, in my previous role at a different job, and very 2A. But it's interesting to see buying patterns, and it's we'd be lying if we didn't say generally, as the economics in the United States, discretionary dollars are tight for everyone. And being a hobby, an activity that some people, it's not a necessity. You can see where people are dictating their funds, and hopefully the economy will right itself here soon. But history tells us it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have, do the tariffs have a big impact on you? Because you probably aren't bringing in a lot of, raw materials overseas.
No, so you're exactly right. So it doesn't have a direct impact on us. We're made in the United States. All of our steel that we use to make our choke tubes are domestically sourced. However, if the tariff percentages are high enough to where the cost value proposition of buying imported steel is quickly being diminished to where demand will go up. There's very few steel mills in the United States. We've got POs booked out almost to 2030. That's how far. And then this stuff popped up. So we're starting to see a slight, well, more than slight, an increase in raw material right now. I don't necessarily agree that it's justified. So we're going to hold pricing for a while we can, because you can't outguess what President Trump's going to do next. Like, when is it going to pause? When is it going to triple? And so
while we're playing checkers, he's playing chess.
Well, I think instead of being reactionary, just maybe this is naive too, but stay the course, and hopefully things will level out.
Do you do a lot of exporting? Do you have a lot of, do you send a lot of you, like, for example, we were just talking about Canada, and that's naturally a big hunting area, and in the, Saskatchewan in particular and Manitoba are big waterfowl provinces. So do you have dealers in Canada?
We do. And we have distributors in various countries. And yes, we have seen a sharp decline in their business coming into 25.
Is that how big, what, if you, and maybe you're not comfortable answering this, but just out of curiosity, what percentage of that is your business? I mean, is it just a sliver?
I'd say, yeah, it's enough to matter.
Yeah, sure.
But, and I share their sentiment too. They're frustrated by their own governments and know that the U.S. is rocking the boat, and it's time will tell, but I think business will recover. It's just right now there's a lot of feelings and emotions going on in the political world with real consequences, but things will level out.
So, it's such a interesting business, and I've had many conversations with Scott Carlson, who obviously was the founder of Carlson's Choke Tubes. I was, love the fact that you guys felt it was important to keep the name as you took over and acquired the business, because he was kind of the godfather of choke tubes. I always joked with him about that. Now, I mean, there was obviously other people that were playing in that space about the same time that he was, but I mean, he was, if not the first, one of the very first to kind of come with this concept. And he's just such a wealth of knowledge. It was always so much fun to talk to him. And now waterfowl hunters, like, you don't go waterfowl hunting without an extended choke tube, right?
Or you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. Exactly. Nice sales job there. But sometimes I forget how much of your guys' business is not even waterfowl. Waterfowl is just one sector. Like, you've got actually turkey hunting that's going on right now, or getting ready to wrap up. So that's an important piece of your business. But then I would think, like, the sporting clays and the competitive shooting, is that kind of probably your biggest area, or what is the biggest space that you guys play in, the biggest part of your business?
I mean, if I were to categorize it into three categories, it'd be waterfowl, turkeys, and then sporting. So I think the fastest growing high school sport in the United States right now is trap shooting. And so we've seen that over the last 4 or 5 years, and it continues to grow, which is encouraging to get more shooters out there. But I'd say that would be our three. If you're going to separate it into three pieces of the pie, it'd be that. So very seasonal. We're already ramping up for waterfowl, or have been. We have some of our distribution partners that like to do larger load-ins in July and have store sets by 8/1, and it's a big part of the outdoor space. Yeah.
Upland. You didn't mention upland there. Upland, when I was a kid, we said we're about to say, I'm turning 50 this year, Nolan. So am I older?
Yeah. I'm much older. Wow.
So we're not quite the same age. I think that's a compliment. I think you were basically saying that I look younger than 50.
Yes.
That's what that sounded like. I appreciate that. Grew up in Northeast Kansas in a small town called Marysville. And that's what we did, man. We didn't waterfowl hunt,
Right.
We would occasionally get the snow geese would fly through and hit a farm pond and stay there for a few days and then they were on their way. But, we didn't see the numbers of ducks and Canada geese and specks. That flyway has shifted a little bit more where that part of the country or that part of the state is seeing more waterfowl. But when I was a kid in high school and going hunting, it was upland hunting and it was deer hunting. And, upland bird numbers have gone down in this region a little bit, although I do hear that they are making a little bit of a comeback. So that's encouraging. Do you see that what are you seeing from the business side and selling choke tubes? How much of that is going towards the upland space?
So it's been interesting. So same story, grew up in Western Kansas, hunted pheasants all the time, and doves have always been pretty good out here. Pheasant population has really dropped off in the last 15 years. I will say, some people call me pessimistic. I prefer realistic, but this year we're seeing quite a few more pheasants, nothing like the days of old. But upland hunters as a target market, they are great hunters but they prioritize what they spend money on differently, not your hardcore waterfowl guys that there's so much gear involved with waterfowl hunting. The upland guys will have really nice dogs that are from really nice trainers and really nice wool or upland hunting vests or whatever, really nice shotguns, good ammo,
top of the line Garmin
collars,
everything, trackers.
And very few of them will do a choke tube compared to waterfowl hunters or
really
hunters.
Really?
And that's an overgeneralization. I think the younger market, 49 and less, not 50-year-old or over, are buying choke tubes as far as the upland hunters go. But it seems to be that they'll spend money on a lot of other things, and choke tubes are one of them, but not nearly as close as our diehard waterfowl and turkey guys.
So that makes me wonder, why that is, because again, back in our day, like, had that been something that I was a little bit more aware of? Of course, keep in mind, I was shooting the old Browning Belgium A5 that didn't have the threads at the end of the barrel to put a choke tube in, right? So I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was just a kid. But knowing what I know today, you mean I can control the shot stream and all of that with the choke tube? Okay. Do you think it's just a lack of education or ignorance about what the choke tube can offer, or is it them shooting a particular gentleman's type shotgun that doesn't have a threaded barrel?
I think it's more the barrier to entry to start hunting upland versus waterfowl is much smaller. So there's a lot more casual hunters, and also it's not migration focused. So they'll go out opening weekend a lot more casually, maybe another week. And then I'd say the majority of upland guys are done for the year. Don't get me wrong. There's the 10 or 15% that like to go out late season because it's more of a challenge. They like to watch their dogs work. They like to walk. But I think that, in my opinion, probably is the bigger thing. It's easier to do. Any shotgun will work. And all you have to do is go walk. And it's not migration focused, where waterfowl is a longer season, or about the same length, honestly, but you can have each day is a new day. What did the cold front bring in?
Sure. Did you know that getting into this business, or were you shocked too? Because I'm shocked actually to kind of hear of this. You've been in this industry for so long, as far as the guns and ammo and, space, you mentioned that earlier, but then getting and acquiring Carlson's choke tubes and having been a passionate upland bird hunter your entire life, were you a little surprised to learn of this? And how did you learn about it? Or is it just kind of speculation in a sense?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of speculation, but it's also unit sales based on waterfowl versus upland style chokes. But I wouldn't say I didn't anticipate it being much less than waterfowl guys. But also, if you think about it, there's a lot more opportunity across the nation for waterfowl hunting versus, like, there's no pheasants east of the Mississippi hardly. Yeah, I mean, there are, but not that many. But on the flip side, like, if you qualify, doves as uplander, if it's its own thing, that market has been growing, which is interesting. Good. I think it's a great way to get people started, and it's a fun time. It's an easy hunt.
So how do you bring more awareness to that upland market and try to deliver a message that captures them to understand the importance of considering a choke tube, extended choke tube in their arsenal?
Oh, it's most likely the education piece. We try to do a decent job getting in front of the markets. Like we're a partner with Pheasants Forever and things of that nature.
You didn't come to Pheasant Fest, mister.
If I
didn't come in, we talked about this and it was in Kansas, and I'm being sarcastic, but like I'm busting your balls because I was hoping that you were going to be here because it was in our backyard and all of the other partners we had, I took them out the night before and we had drinks and had a good time. And I was like, man, because we've been talking about wanting to get together outside of just meeting at SHOT Show or one of these trade shows just to have a meeting and just chill and have a good time. And it's never worked out. And here there was a chance and you didn't come. Nolan.
Yeah. Oh, the calendar is tight. And had I known you were buying drinks, that would have changed the whole situation.
No, I bought a lot of drinks.
No, trying to get that on the calendar, but it's just, you can be as busy as you want to be with various shows and meetings. And
Well, and I mean, and again, I'm just busting your balls, but that was at the end of the show season, the trade show season. You had already been to every show from one coast to the other. And you were probably a little burnt out and just decided that you'll hang that one up and maybe consider it another time. But it was a great show. I will say, I was really impressed with the amount of vendors that were there. And I think I showed up there for a couple days to hang out, and the turnout was really good. Yeah. Especially on Saturday. It was really, really good. So keep that in mind in the future, especially since we're talking about getting in front of more upland hunters. So if you are into upland hunting, you're missing out on some great opportunities to be more consistent and be
more effective.
Effective. Yeah.
If you're still missing, it's not my fault. You go to the range once in a while, but.
One of the things that I love about following you on social media is your passion for shooting coyotes at night. And that, I mean, it just looks like that is like your favorite thing in the world to do, or at least that's how it comes across. And it's one of my favorite things to watch. I have never done this. It's hard for me to get out and do stuff like that. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like they're like, you got a turkey yet? And I'm like, man, by the way, my daughter shot her first turkey this year, which was incredible. She's 11 years old.
Awesome.
It was so awesome, man. But I'm gone so much doing the TV show. I got 3 kids, 11, 4, and 3 years of age. And so when I'm home, I feel this responsibility to be present and to be home instead of being like, okay, I've been gone for the last 3 months, every other week at a time. Now I'm going to go try to kill a turkey. But so I don't get to do a lot of the, we call it fun hunting, because usually if I'm hunting for the show, and not that it's not fun. It's just, it's still work. You have this passion for, I'm guessing, is it a thermal or that you're using?
Yeah.
Tell me how you got into that. I'm guessing that was probably something that started when you were at the other job.
Yeah. So backing way up, moving back home. So my family homesteaded back in 1886, and I live 3 miles from it's still an active farm. My cousins and my uncles are mostly doing that. So I have access, and I live out in the middle of nowhere to where there's not much else to do. I've got young kids and a job and a wife like everybody else. And I've grew up calling coyotes daytime only because it wasn't legal in Kansas until the last few years to do nighttime hunting. And at night, it's almost like cheating. The coyotes are much more brave. And so we run, the family has a fair amount of cattle, and so do my neighbors. And it's also taken a lifetime to get permission on all these spots, like to become known and trusted. I won't drive in there. I'll shut the gates. I know I won't shoot a cow, that kind of thing. Right. And just this year was a phenomenal year. Did the same thing I've done year over year, but the coyote population is just out of bounds this year. Most of those coyotes that I shot in that season were basically at 3 locations. I mean, if there's cattle, there's coyotes. And so sometimes I wouldn't even go call it, just go sit there and wait 10 minutes and you'd see them sneaking through. So shooting suppressed with the thermal scope, AR-10 and a 243 off of a tripod, like I made up with it. And I think part of it is come home, you can work all day, come home, hang out with the kids. I got young boys, 4 and gonna turn 2, and they go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and hang up the wife like, hey, I'm gonna go sneak out for 2 hours, and I'm right there. And so it's an access, it's convenient, but love smacking coyotes.
You go by yourself?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. So how does that, and there's probably people watching this that know more about this than I do, so I apologize for my ignorance, but I'm guessing the thermal does have the ability to put an SD card in there or something to capture, or do you just use a USB-C cord to connect it to your computer? How do you get the imagery?
All the above. I mean, most of the scopes have digital recording on board. It comes with it.
Okay.
And then this particular one, you can Bluetooth it or Wi-Fi to your phone and download from it.
That is incredible. What kind? Which one do you got?
A Pulsar.
What does that go for?
Oh, enough. They're expensive. All thermal scopes are.
Yeah, but there's some that can be like I've heard, $8 to 10 grand. Does that sound right? And then I've heard some as low as, $3 grand. Yeah. So like they still range. They're expensive, yes, but there is a large variance in some.
Right. And it was one of those things where I started with more of an entry level scope, and we're out here in the flats, and your depth perception at night through a night vision or a thermal scope is almost non-existent unless you're like counting terraces and are familiar with the field. And you can take some long shots out here. So ended up upgrading a couple of years ago to a little higher processor and rangefinder built in, and it's like a video game. It's point and click.
That's insane. What's the longest shot you've taken at night?
Taken and hit or taken?
Yes. Well, yeah. No, I don't care about the one you failed at. I want to know the one you connected on.
596 is my longest.
Okay. So now obviously you're shooting a very accurate gun. But how are you ranging that as far? I mean,
there's a built-in rangefinder with a ballistic calculator that's very accurate. I'm a really nerdy reloader, long distance guy.
Oh, you reload all your
I did until this year. That 243 is shooting factory stuff so well and just kind of ran out of time. And I mean, we shot several hundred dogs, so it was good.
Several hundred.
That's a little over 2.
Really? Wow. So do you feel like you've put a dent in it, or is it still pretty bad out there?
No, still bad. So
more so this year. You said you kind of centralized it to this year versus years past. What is it? What is it about this year that made it any more worse than years past?
I don't know. I think I've only seen 2 or 3 mangy coyotes. All of them are very healthy. Also, my own conspiracy theory is a lot of the ranchers out here have started feeding in the last 5-10 years this distiller's wort. So it's like leftover corn mash, basically. That's fairly inexpensive from distiller ethanol plants. And so they come and dump it on the ground, and it holds a lot of heat. And so the coyotes love to eat it. They'll sleep in it. They'll eat it. They don't have to go hunting. And there's seems to be a pretty good year for rabbits and field mice and stuff.
Obviously, ranchers aren't aware that they're helping their predator situation.
No, and it's a fool's errand. Reading a lot of research about how to effectively control coyotes, and I think one thing I remember is you have to reduce the population by 70% year over year for 5 years in a row to have a noticeable impact. So, and coyotes will absorb a vacuum of territory. So if you have a pack that you think is headquartered on your piece and you shoot them out, the coyotes move a lot. And so that's kind of this year for my own experiment is I had trail cameras everywhere and would go shoot, 35 coyotes off this one piece. It's probably 20 acres. I mean, there's cattle there. And 3 or 4 days later, you got another 3 show up and go shoot 1 or 2 of those. And then they just keep, and they're still coming.
Yeah. I mean, they're a territorial, species. So,
but for being out here in the middle of nowhere, it's just fascinating that there's not much cover and how many coyotes you don't see during the day. And then you go out at night and you scan a 360, you're like, holy smokes. So
where do they? I mean, around here or where I grew up, they're obviously spending a lot of time in the trees and the timber, so are they just down in those culverts, or do they dig out dens in those culverts, or?
Oh, all the above, but they'll just go lay in the tall grass or in the yucca plants or in a deeper draw.
Interesting. Bobcats though, what kind of, or foxes?
Not a whole lot of cats this year. My buddy and we were trapping, we caught 4. There's more than that. We don't have a whole lot of trees. Not as many cats as Eastern Kansas.
Gotcha. Wow. I want to come out there sometime and do that because it just looks like a absolute blast. In fact, it would be hard for me to only go out for a couple hours.
Oh,
because
yeah.
that 2 hours would go by really quick. I mean, by the time you drive to your set and then you get set up and I mean, it's like, that's the thing about coyote hunting that I kind of I like, but didn't like in the sense because, you know, you're only hunting at one stand, or at least during the day, like 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, you're calling there, and, you know, I know some guys that will stick it out longer than that, but if we didn't see anything in 15 minutes, we were picking up and moving to the next one. So you were spending more time in the truck, just driving from one stand to the next, which kind of leads me to the next question, that as much as you love predator hunting or coyote hunting specifically, do you get into many tournaments? Because we have one around here. You don't do it?
Oh, we've entered a couple, and there's a lot better guys than I am at it. And tournaments will be 24-hour things. And I've got kids that are waking up at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, no, you do have to dedicate some time to it. You got to go out and scout. You know, a good buddy of ours at Heartland Waterfowl is Dustin Patterson, who's considered like the best at killing coyotes. And he puts a lot of time into it. You know, I mean, you, like, I guess anything, you have to invest some time. But I guess what I'm saying is it's also knowing where the coyotes are too. And it sounds like you're sitting on a target rich environment, you know, with knowing how many coyotes are there. And a lot of these tournaments are now opening it up to nighttime divisions. That's what that was first time that they did here with the coyote tournament we have outside of town in Grain Valley. A buddy of ours runs that. And this was the first year they had a nighttime division. And you bet your ass that they were killing more coyotes at night than they were during the day. I mean, not that there was a couple teams that shot, you know, big numbers during the day, but a lot of those dogs were shot at night.
And that's I'm all for it as a predator management perspective. Coyotes and raccoons, we need to focus on those. I mean, the trapping fur market fell apart years ago. There's no money in it. It takes a lot of time, but anybody that has a little chunk of land or has access to it, you're doing all the birds and deer a favor. Just go set some traps. Or daytime raccoon calling. Never really tried that till this spring.
It's incredible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Put a turkey choke in and some lead loads and just let it eat.
A lot of people don't think about coons being a predator. And there's obviously, I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, as bad as they're out there, they're here, they're in town. I mean, I've got, you know, I could go out and use a spotlight in my backyard, and I live in a residential area. And I've seen, if I have a bird feeder, you bet every night there's about 8 coons trying to climb that bird feeder post to eat out of that bird feeder. So I don't even put bird feed out anymore. But you said you just kind of got into
to daytime and watch. I've tried it before back in high school and didn't have much luck, and watch a couple of YouTube videos, and it's like 4 to 5 minute stands. And I mean, we have very few trees, so you just go call at the base of each one, and hopefully the raccoon comes out. And if
brush piles, don't if you find a good brush pile of wood stacked up, and you're talking what I think you're talking about, and for everybody watching, is that you're calling those the coon fighting, the coon fight call or whatever. I don't know if that's the right terminology for it, but which is the most horrendous sounding thing in the world, by the way. It sounds just awful. But the way the coons will come out of a tree or out of a brush pile and charge towards that call is as intense as calling in a coyote. I think. I mean, we've done it before, and I've seen videos on it. I haven't had as much success as what I've seen in the videos, but that's incredible. I mean, so have you been doing that quite a bit?
Yeah, and that's been a lot of fun and eye-opening. Like the first couple stands went really well. I'm like, oh my gosh. And Gage here from work, he works in sales and customer service, and drag him along, or actually he drags me out more than I do. And just go with shotguns. You'll stand straight up and down about 20 yards from the tree you think they're in, and hit raccoon fight or raccoon distress, and either they come charging in or they're not there, and you go to the next tree.
Sure. That's incredible. So those are your big passions. I know you got into some waterfowl hunting this year, because we were trying to go on a trip, and I think you couldn't go. I think it was Oklahoma. We had an opening come up, which you should have come on, because that was the best. Well, one of the 2 best trips of the season.
That's the story of my life, where
we shot limits every single day by 9 a.m. Nolan.
Make sure you rub it in.
It was insane. It was awesome. S-Bar Outfitters, shout out to those guys. It was incredible. We'd love to get you out on a hunt this year, but you'd mentioned that you were busy at work and, had to be responsible and do the dad stuff, which I get. That's why I figured out a way to find a job in the outdoor space going hunting so that I could say I have to go to work. My wife still, like, after 12 years of filming the show, she still struggles with that. Well, you're going hunting. I'm like, you realize it pays the mortgage, right? Like,
Right.
I have to go do this. Best job in the world. I love it. But you went to Mount City, I think you said, or Missouri, or up in that area, Small Creek, and were you shooting snows, or what did you get into up there? How did that turn out?
Pretty good, really good, actually. I mean, it was probably a little bit late, but no, we still had some really good shoots. So that was a lot of fun. Magazine extensions and trying out a variety of chokes and variety of loads and some prototype ammo from various people and just making it rain. It was a lot of fun. And, growing up out here in Western Kansas, there's basically 3 ponds in our county that might have some mud ducks on it. Norton Lake over there is 35 miles away. Didn't really get into waterfowl hardcore until I went to college in Eastern Kansas. And that was when I really got the bug. And it's always great to know buddies that have all the decoys and stuff, and I could just pile in and help throw them out. And,
right.
But did that, been down to Oklahoma a couple times shooting some lesser Canadas and whatnot. But there's always more to do. Like I like to hunt everything, which is kind of difficult because
Same here.
Fall and winter, between bow hunting and rifle hunting and coyotes and antelope and elk and deer,
So you're not living in Atwood though, right? Atwood is where Carlson's Choke Tubes is headquartered, I guess, if you want to say that. But didn't you grow up in like Oakley or somewhere?
Oberlin? So it's
Oberlin, that's right.
One town over, and I'm basically 15 miles between the two of them out in the middle of nowhere where I like.
Beautiful. I went to college in Colby.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know that? I know I've talked to Scott about that. Yeah. Which actually kind of brings up a whole nother story, how you and I met. I think that's kind of funny. Do you remember that?
It's all a blur, man. If you're
Is it really?
Golden Moose.
No, so my recollection of that was we were in the early years of Heartland Waterfowl, and so back then there were more people in the outdoor industry that were going to SHOT Show. Like that was the show you wanted to go to basically touch as many people as possible if you were doing what we were doing. And my role with Heartland Waterfowl is more on the business side, the marketing side, the sales side. I massage the relationships or try to infiltrate companies to have partnerships, sponsorships like we do with you guys. And so that's what my role is. Logan handles more of the scheduling of the hunts, where we're going, when we're going, and the outfitter relations, because we do hunt with some outfitters. But
was it on the airplane?
We were, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I can't remember his name. There was a guy sitting between us, or maybe he was sitting on the side of it. His name was Matt, and he worked with like Mossy Oak Properties or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he was a talker. Holy cow. He talked our ear off. But, I was, talking about what we did as far as Heartland Waterfowl. And you had mentioned working I think you were still working in Olathe, right? At the gun shop in Olathe.
Yeah,
but it seems like you were still maybe doing something with Scott then. Was there discussions maybe going on then, way back then, about possibly acquiring the business? Because I remember there being some sort of connect. And I know too, you were really good friends, or are good friends, with Josh Ishmael, who was doing some content and marketing, I think, for Scott at that time too. Anyway, it was years ago, but we literally met on a Southwest flight coming back to Kansas City from SHOT Show. And then here we are 10 years later,
right?
And you're the owner of Carlson's Choke Tubes and a sponsor of Heartland Waterfowl, which, by the way, dude, thank you for that. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us.
You too. I mean, the partnership's been good. You guys do great work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Videography is second to none.
Thank you. Appreciate that. No, and we've never, like I told Scott this when we were pursuing this opportunity, was that there's obviously other competitors in the choke tube space, and I had no desire really to pursue any of those. I love the fact that Scott was one of the original. I love the fact that he was somewhat local. I mean, is it a 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive out there?
Depends on who's driving, but yeah.
That's true. That's very true. So we've been out there a couple times to see him. And, I will say this, if we're going to come out there and see you, he would always take us to Bird City,
Big
Bird
Ed's.
City, to eat a ribeye. And it was the best steak. What's the name of that place?
Big Ed's.
Oh my God. The best steak I have ever eaten. And I've eaten a lot of really good steaks in my day because ribeyes are my favorite. So, but we've definitely done some patterning segments out there on the board. Did you get a new board, by the way? I think there was a discussion about that one time.
I did. Yeah.
What's the difference between that one and what I remember about the old one?
Basically 18 years of technology improvements in the computer, the algorithms, the camera.
Oh, wow.
Generally, I mean, it's much the same as a giant box with automatic paper roller, but the number of reports and metrics that it uses now is, I'm a numbers nerd. I spend a lot of time shooting on that thing, and it's more accurate and more detailed than it's ever been.
Gotcha. Do you have that on the same property? So that was always on Scott's property, I think. Did you have to move that then to a new piece of property?
Yeah, I've got it. It's nice. Well, yes, I moved it to my house, and so I can shoot
it.
Cool. Whenever I want it. Yeah.
Sounds like there's a reason why we need to come out there and see this new patterning board.
Yeah.
I'd love to check that out.
We'll shoot some coyotes and doves and go to Big Ed's.
Oh my God. I love it.
That's all there is to do out here. So
yeah, well, I get it. But yeah, I went to Colby. I was their radio program out there. Went 2 years and was also an athlete. That's the best thing about, if you're and nobody's going to care about this because most people aren't this insane to be a long distance runner. But I was good at it. I hated it, but I was good at it. I paid for my education, so I did it at the next level.
I've never been accused of that.
You can be really, really good at it if you are running in Western Kansas because there are no hills. It's just flat, just go run. I remember when we were training for nationals in upstate New York. And it's a 5K if I remember correctly. So, I mean, it's quite a little jaunt, and, they had so many more hills there, and it kicked my tail. And I remember Coach Hunter, he took us out to like the one spot in Thomas County, which is where Colby is located in Western Kansas, where there was possibly a hill. We ran that hill over and over and over again to prepare for the nationals the next year. But yeah, on Tuesdays, they would drive us out 15 miles outside of town in a big old, those college or cargo vans or whatever you want to call them. And it was be like, okay, just run back to town. And it sounds terrible. And it wasn't fun. Again, I hated it, but trust me, it could be worse, but it's so flat out there. It's not terrible. And especially if it's a windy day and you got the wind to your back, it's even better. Hey, before we wrap this up, I just want to kind of get an idea of what's in the future for Carlson's Choke Tubes. I mean, there's so many things that you guys do that is, like you talked about magazine extensions and other things that you guys are involved with. That's just maybe people aren't aware of because when they hear Carlson's Choke Tubes, they just associate only the tube. So what are other areas of which you guys are playing in? They're really kind of putting a focus on, or you got new products that are coming out that would be beneficial as we get close to another year of hunting this fall.
Sure. So main thing is don't rock the boat with this beautiful business that's been set up, but continue to expand. So it's a little premature, but we are hoping to close on some land still in Atwood, just north of town, a mile or so. Right now we're in town in a residential area, and we're building a much larger building to get all under one roof. And we've got a really good team, so excited about that. And then as far as new products go, there's a few things I'm playing with on the patterning board that there's only so many things you can do to basically a steel pipe, but these are truly different internal designs that I'm pretty excited about. Excuse me. We've got some video of shooting some pheasants this year with some of these prototype chokes, and it's amazing. The pellet density, you can see it as it hits the pheasant. So
really,
if that comes to fruition, I need to keep patterning and try to find if there's a critical failure point somewhere with this design before we turn it loose. But that's on the radar, and that's what I'm doing all day tomorrow and basically every Thursday or Friday from here until I'm comfortable with it.
I'm hearing you talk about shooting pheasants, and we've already established in this episode that, that isn't really a key target spot for you guys,
Right.
because those people aren't buying choke tubes. So I want to know.
It's going to be a waterfowl choke.
Okay. Is it going to have the same impact on a duck or a goose?
Oh, yes. And so to answer your question, we're shooting non-toxic pheasants just because that's what I was doing that weekend.
Okay.
And then the duck video stuff I've gotten so far, the lighting wasn't quite right for those shot cams to catch the pellets. So it's just mainly a lighting situation.
Gotcha.
I'll have to give you guys something to go.
So what I'm hearing then is that it's not ready yet, but there's a potential. Would this be, and that's just probably not fair to ask because you probably don't want to let too much out of the bag, but is this going to be a how do I say this? Like a new generation of a cremator type of choke tube, or is this a whole new system, a whole new brand, in a different entity from the cremator? Gotcha.
That's a great question.
Not sure how you're going to brand that yet, huh?
It's not going to be a cremator, I don't think.
Okay.
But it's a completely different design. The cremators shoot well. Like I don't want to take away from those at all. Like,
no doubt.
And this one might not. Like I still have a bunch of rounds to try out. But targeting hopefully a 26 launch. But
26. Okay. So we will have prototypes available this morning as we go ready to hunt this, because again, a lot of the stuff that we film in the fall is going to be turned around for linear distribution in Q3 of 2026. So
yeah,
I'm going to need to check out those choke tubes a little bit sooner than you may be ready to get them out, buddy.
Well, we'll have to talk offline on that.
I told you that there was no gotcha moments there. I apologize. I said there's not going to be any gotcha moments in the episode. No. I will ask you this real quick, because one of the things that we did when we were working with Scott was Jeff Berry from Kent Cartridge actually came out and visited the same time we were out there. And it opened my eyes to the amount of conversations that you guys must have, not only with the firearms industry, because you're threading and making a product to go in their gun, but you're going to have the same pretty in-depth conversations with all of these ammo manufacturers as well. And so what does that look like, or kind of give us a 30,000 foot view from a business standpoint for some of us that wouldn't have no idea of what that looks like, on how you're establishing relationships with people in the ammo industry?
Sure. No, relationally is a huge deal with the ammunition manufacturers. And like, for instance, Jeff's been great. We touch base, like, hey, what's cooking? What's new?
Mm-hmm.
You have any, new wads? But I'd say we spend of those two, firearms or ammunition, firearms just choke system, but ammunition is the biggest part on what they are putting in that shell and how different choke tubes affect it.
Yeah,
better or worse. And so we work pretty closely with Kent and Winchester and Federal, and because it's a symbiotic relationship. Basically, if we can say, we get 100, more than that, phone calls a day, like, hey, I want to shoot this with this gun at this distance, and we'll look through our pattern and data that we've had for years and say, well, here's what we would suggest. And no two guns will shoot the same, but that's been pivotal. And then as new prototype ammo comes out, they'll do their patterning, they'll send it to me, get my reports, we'll do some field testing with it, and some of it comes to fruition, some of it doesn't.
That's a really good point. I got to ask. So like when you are running, you talked about two different guns not shooting the same. For example, we shoot Berettas, and let's just say the A400 as an example. So when you're patterning these, are you testing these with one A400, or do you have, like, how many different A400s in the Beretta line are you going to test with a particular, say, Kent Cartridge Fast Steel 2.0 or their Fast Steel Plus, which is their hybrid loads? Like, what does that look like?
So everything's going to be based off of, for the most part, nominal bore. And so for your A400 example, there's tolerances involved with what the nominal bore is, and that's what you're going to base your constriction off of. And so, to get a true sample size, you should be shooting 10 with the same gun, but that gets expensive in a hurry.
Right.
And so we've got that same, share the same nominal bore and choke system. I'll try to have 3 or 4 of basically the same firearm, but over a couple different manufacturing lots or a couple different years.
Do you see a big variance when you're shooting, say 3 or 4 guns? I mean, I think it probably depends. I almost put you in a sticky spot. I am really sorry. I did not mean to do that, but I would say it probably depends from one manufacturer to the other, as far as, the
acceptable tolerances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, so for example, when we're patterning our Berettas, we don't see a drastic difference from, like, if I got Alex, Logan, and me, and we're patterning each of our guns with the same load, we don't see a big variance there.
And you shouldn't, hopefully. I mean, it's all about stacking tolerances of consistency of the firearm, the choke tube, and the ammunition.
Right.
But where I was going to go with that? Well, I have consecutive serial number guns, and they shoot noticeably different. Also, to the average person, I'd say check your point of aim, point of impact on a big piece of paper or cardboard. 3 foot by 3 foot. You'd be probably surprised on how far your gun is not shooting point of aim. It's very rare to have a shotgun that shoots point of aim, in my opinion. It'll be close, but if you're getting it to the next tail end, and then also, like, I'm looking at every pellet. If there are 350 pellets in a load, I get really pretty scrupulous, and the patterning board makes a big difference on being able to kick out reports quickly to be able to evaluate.
Gotcha. We're going to get close to the end of this. I got the ducked up questions of the day for you. All right. Okay. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. And then it's just a little fun way to end the segment. But I want to know, what does your, do you have your hunting season kind of planned out yet, as far as any trips that you're going on this fall and winter?
Well, no. So I'm in for a variety of big game lotteries. And if I don't pull, hopefully Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks is listening to this, I've got 8 years of antelope rifle points. And
wow.
I should have pulled like 3 years ago. Well, anyways, that application went in 2 days ago. So hopefully we'll find out soon on that. That will dictate if I want to try to do an archery antelope hunt in Wyoming or wherever.
Did you ever get your tag for Montana elk?
I'm still just building. So they changed the preference and bonus points. And I can't remember exactly the delineator. I have a buddy who's really good at that. To answer your question, no, I have the most points in Wyoming, and trying to coordinate with the wife, and we're trying to do the caribou haul road hunt in Alaska in 26. And there's just so many weekends or days I should be gone, I guess. She's a saint. Like, she's a spicy woman.
What's your wife's name?
Liz.
Liz, God bless you, Liz.
Yes.
Thank you for being one of those rock star wives for a guy in the outdoor space. That is incredible. Love you, girl. Don't even know you, but I love you. No,
she's been very supportive, but there's a point, and then Kansas will be archery. And to answer your question, no, I don't have a whole lot of stuff on the books.
Nothing waterfowl wise?
Not yet. I've been waiting to talk to you.
We got to get on that. But again, I made it clear earlier that Logan handles that side of the business. And so I know he's working on it. We're getting close. But yeah, we would love to find a way. Maybe we can get you to come out to Tornado Alley or something. That's because that's relatively close, just on the other end of the state. And there's always great bird hunting there. All right, so let's get on to the ducked up questions of the day. It's brought to you by Dirty Duck Coffee. If your coffee sucks, it ain't the duck. The preferred coffee of choice in the blind or around the breakfast table for Heartland Waterfowl and waterfowl hunters in every flyway. You can save on a variety of blends by using promo code HW10 at dirtyduckcoffee.com. I'm just going to tell you that these are the same questions that I asked Terry Denham. So it'll be interesting to compare how you answered him versus how he answered him. The first question is, what's the most ridiculous superstition you've ever had or heard of about waterfowl hunting? Or, it doesn't even probably need to be specific to waterfowl hunting, just because you're so involved with when I asked that to him, he's a big waterfowl guy naturally, but
I wouldn't say ridiculous, but gross. One of my best friends has lucky socks that don't get washed.
Oh my.
For years.
He's never washed them?
Well, that's what I think. I'm sure he has. I hope to God he has. But yeah,
that's. Do you hunt with him?
Unfortunately, yeah.
You go on trips with him to where you get to experience the stench?
When you're backwoods elk hunting, everybody smells.
But I'm telling you, there's something bad. There's something about a foot stench. Ooh, okay. So he doesn't wash his socks. I feel like I've heard that one before, but there's nothing bigger or crazier than that.
Oh, I'm sure there is. But that's the first one that comes to mind because it's just gross.
You don't have any superstitions though. Do you have anything that you do? They're like, okay, some people might carry a picture of their grandpa or, have some sort of memento that is, emotional to them that, like, do you have anything like that you do when you go hunting?
Yeah. I mean, I thank God when I watching the sunrise.
I love that.
I mean, it's not crazy, but just having the opportunity to enjoy nature, and don't get me wrong, I like to kill stuff, hunt, but just getting someplace without cell phone service and enjoying it.
Gratitude, man. That is the biggest thing I captured from that, is just having the gratitude for the life and the opportunity to do it. That is incredible.
We all won the genetic lottery by being American citizens, man.
No doubt. And man, we take it for granted. I certainly do. There's no doubt about that. Kudos to you for bringing attention to that. Second question, if someone made a Hollywood movie about the real behind the scenes life of Nolan May, who would play you and what would the title be? Let's just go with who the actor would be. If there was going to be a movie about Nolan May and his life, who do you think would play you?
Whoever the guy that was in Beverly Hillbillies, if you ask my wife, just always doing redneckery. Like, my biggest thing lately is habitat. And so
you're a big dude too, so you kind of got to take that into consideration. How tall are you? You got to be like 6'5" or 6'6". Yeah. And you're a big dude, and I'm not calling you a fat ass. You're just you're a big frame dude. So now you got to find the actor who's going to fit that bill. That's a tough shoe to fill.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it's just general redneckery and have gun will travel like the.
All right, we'll move on to the next question, and maybe you'll think of something better as we go on. What invention changed waterfowl hunting more? The layout blind, the choke tube, or the cell phone?
Ooh. I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, it's probably cell phone. But access maps have changed everything. Like, everybody's little private honey holes that were on the old paper thing.
Right.
It's naked right now, which.
Yeah. How often do you use that out there with what you guys do?
OnX?
Use OnX? Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a hazard because I'll drive by. I'm like, oh, there's some prairie dogs. Mark it.
Well, there's just so much information that you can get from it. And like, we have a partnership with them. I've said this before too. I don't know how uncomfortable I would be trying to go out and scout if I didn't have the OnX app.
Especially, anybody, but being in the outdoor industry, like, you are doing it more, you have more, there's very small margin of error. So you got to know exactly where you're at and what you're doing. And
Yeah. All right. So final question. What's the one thing you wish non-hunters actually understood about waterfowl hunting? The one thing you wish non-hunters understood about waterfowl hunting?
Everything. The passion, the conservation, the dollars that come from it. The fact that hunters are responsible for most of the wild animals that they see. Mm-hmm. There's such a misconception there. But
you said the first thing you said was passion. Elaborate on that. Like, that must have been, I like to do that when I have these interviews, because usually the thing that comes out of their mouth first is the most important thing to them. So when you talk about the passion, give us your definition or your example of why the passion is so important to you. And it doesn't have to be specific to waterfowl hunting, just hunting in general.
Oh, I mean, it's just what drives you in life. Like, it's what we have a job for, to make money so we can go hunting. And, those are important to us. I feel like it's God-given rights. This is, hopefully don't get too controversial, but non-hunters or people on the other side will shove it down your throat what they're passionate about. I might not necessarily agree with it, but I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
And it seems
and you're not shoving your narrative or your mission down their throat either. You're just minding your own business, doing your thing.
Yeah. I think live and let live could be a big takeaway, but looking down on hunters or whatever, call them all sorts of names.
Sure. I appreciate the time today, man. It's good to catch up with you. We got to figure out a way to do this when it's not a virtual call. So what are the chances you can come to Kansas City at the end of June? Remember, we got the Heartland premiere. The Heartland premiere is coming up Saturday, June 28th. Do you play golf? And you don't have to be good,
No.
because most time I ask that question, they're like, I don't play it well. Well, neither do we.
I mean, I'll drive a golf cart around.
It's an excuse to go out and drink beer and be with some really good friends.
I need to look, but I'm 90% sure that's wife's family reunion trip thing.
Sorry, Liz, we just gave you a massive shout out and showed a lot of love. Give Nolan the weekend off to come hang with the boys at the Heartland premiere.
No, she's been great, but yeah, I'll check into that.
Check in with the calendar, man. We'd love to have you, and I'll get with you about figuring out a way that we can feature you guys at the premiere. I appreciate you so much, man. And not only do I want to just extend my gratitude to you personally, but everybody who walks around that place with the Carlson's badge on their chest, man. You guys do great work. You guys are the leader in the industry of choke tubes. It's the reason why I wanted to be partnered with you guys. You were one of the first sponsors Heartland Waterfowl ever had, and have remained a sponsor to Heartland Waterfowl for over 12 years. And we're hopeful to, renew that going into year 13. So I can't be more grateful for this partnership. It means a lot to me. And it's even more special when you feel like you have a relationship on a personal level with these people, like I do with you. And I'm hopeful that we can expand on that in this coming hunting season and get you in camp with us, buddy. Really,
that'd be awesome. No,
so
I appreciate all the stuff you guys do for us. It's been great. And 12 years is a testament to the quality product you put out.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That's going to wrap it up. Another episode of Behind the Blind, brought to you by Double T British Kennels. For more than 20 years, Double T British Kennels have been importing dogs directly from Great Britain to build superior bloodlines. They're top of the line dogs, proven in the field and major field trials. Learn more about them at britlabs.com. Tell them the Heartland Waterfowl sent you. For Nolan May, I'm Ronnie Phillips. Thanks for checking out another episode of the Behind the Blind podcast.